Oda's a madman. Oda is a madman, bro. Oh my god, this chapter was incredible. What a week, man. The anime comes back this week and we get such an incredible reveal. All right, spoilers for this chapter because I don't know. I was gonna wait to put it out on Sunday, but I want to talk about it. I want to talk about it, so I might put it out Saturday. We'll see. So, but I'm just gonna put spoilers. Um, you know, if you haven't, if you haven't seen it, get away now. And if you want to wait for the Sunday release, get away now. But I want to talk about this right now, so we're getting straight into it. I'm actually gonna work my way through the chapter, give people a bit more time because I don't want to be a dick. Usually I'll work backwards because the end reveal usually I have more to talk about, but we're gonna work from the start this time because I actually did really like the cover page. I don't talk about the cover page much, but it was so cute, so adorable, man. We got Ace, Yamato, and Tama, man. It was so adorable. Ace is wearing the little hat. Oh, on top of his actual hat. Oh, it was actually one of the most adorable cover stories we've had in a while. I was like, oh man, oh, it had me like smiling, lovely smile on my face. I love those three. They have a great dynamic, and it's unfortunate that they haven't, mixed together because obviously Ace died before they got to meet. The three of them got to meet all together. Oh, it was so cute. That's what I love about these requests. A lot of them are really cute. Even one of the ones I remember the most is Frankie talking to the bartender about Senor Pink. That stuff is like classic, just so cute. But yeah, this chapter went incredibly just mental, right? We got a lot of information. So I was wrong. I was talking at my home and I said the Holy Land doesn't look like it's attacked. It looks like it is, or at least if it's not attacked, they're attacking the supply lines on the underneath the Holy Land. So the food shortage is like unimaginable. Like it looks like they're starving out the dragons, right? They're the celestial dragons. They're starving them all because we see with York, she's like, where the hell is the food, And that's quite interesting. Obviously, the pendant idea is cool, for the fact the original Vegapunk was an enemy of the government. So it is quite interesting to see that York is still going to play a role and obviously have a lot more going on. The Mother Flame, I'm really interested to see what it actually does. Like, obviously, that ability was replicating something. So, what is the Mother Flame replicating? Because obviously the attack on Lelouchia was the Mother Flame, right? If I'm not mistaken, it could have been an ancient weapon, but I'm pretty sure the whole thing is whatever the Mother Flame is replicating. So the Mother Flame was the weapon used for Lelouchia, but if not, they have two big weapons now, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. But the dialogue between the elders is very interesting because they don't want Emu to leave the castle, and we see why later on in the story, which is incredibly interesting because it leaves an out for Luffy and his crew to not have to get rid of Emu this arc, but also it leaves a fantastic parallel to Roger, man. Oh, like this is what I'm saying. I know I said I wouldn't jump around, but I'm gonna jump around now. It's been 3 minutes into the video. If you don't want to be spoiled, you should be gone. Man, the parallel between Emo and Roger this chapter was incredible, man. Like everyone was talking. I saw one guy, I can't remember the name. I saw one guy talking about like how this is a Whitebeard upscale because of the weapon that Emu has. Like it looks like a Nagi Naga or whatever Whitebeard's weapon is. Which yeah, that's cool. My go, big white beard, let's go. We got one of these babies. Got one of these babies on deck. You know what I'm saying? At least now I can do an emu cosplay and have this. But yeah. So his weapon is very Whitebeard esque, and they were like Whitebeard upscale, which yeah, it is, and I'm pretty excited for that. But the Roger parallels, man, the sickness. I'm telling you, just the two big powers of the world of 24 years ago being sick, and arguably might end up being the same sickness. This could lead to some incredible writing and some incredible stuff. I can't wait to see what this is. And imagine if this is a person that's given them the sickness, playing into every party in One Piece has its problems, and there's a third party we have not heard from at all, which is the man marked by flames. And I'm not saying he gave Roger the sickness, I'm not saying he gave Emu the sickness, but the idea that the sickness could be linked to either Laugh Tale or linked to a person is really fascinating. fascinating. And the fact that Emu is also sick, I'm really, really excited about it. I don't think it's to do with the devil fruits because I don't think if Roger had a devil fruit, we would know by now. Do you know what I mean? I think it's very clear that Roger didn't have a devil fruit. So I don't think the sickness comes from the devil fruit. And how the sickness could be two separate things entirely. They could have had two separate sicknesses. But I think it wouldn't make sense to have Roger and Emu both be sick and then be like, oh yeah, oh yeah, it's not, it doesn't parallel at all. There's no similarities. It's not the same sickness or anything. I feel like it has to be similar, and that excites me, man. Any parallels to Roger for Emu is really exciting because it builds up character for the final arc. And also the fact he's actually badass and not either a little troll person who's obsessed with women or a woman himself. Like the woman idea was very cool. The fact that he might be like, in Lily's body and have that idea was cool, but I'm just happy he's not a little troll man, like who's obsessed with Lily, and he might still be obsessed with Lily, but I'm just glad he's not a little troll man obsessed with Lily. I thought final villain vibes. That's not it. I'm happy he's probably a Lunarian. Looks like the features. And I think this is quite fascinating because the first person in the Straw Hat crew to beat a Lunarian was Zoro. So if he gets confirmed to be a Lunarian, people are going to be chatting so much about Zoro stocks. It is going to be immense. But one thing I will say, I really enjoyed the introduction. He had basically a bunch of Devil Fruit powers appear at once. He had Big Mom's homie powers. He has some form of transformation. He has all his little emu eyes. So that little shadow form we see must be some form of a transformation, like a hybrid form or something, which really, really excites me. I don't know what Oda's going to do with this, but I am excited. And I do think the fact he looks like that, it does kind of bring back the Mihawk Emu son theories, which I think would be really cool. But I'm just spitballing here. Um, yeah, but it is great because the sickness provides a good few things. As I said, it provides a parallel to Roger, which is the most important thing because we see him basically talk about the big figures of the story, in this chapter where he brings up Roger, he brings up Shanks, he brings up Zebek, Nefertari, Vivi, all this sort of stuff. But I think the parallel is great because not only does it, bring more importance to Roger and the sickness and kind of make his death more impactful than it already was, which is what I'm looking for. More Roger stuff is great. On top of that, it also allows for an out so we can go to Marijoa or need to go to Marijoa to finish the job. I don't know what he's going to do. I hope to God he doesn't kidnap any of the Straw Hats and we have to go rescue them. I don't want it to necessarily be a rescue mission. Now, if it was Sabo, I might actually be down for it. You know what I mean? If Sabo got captured or something, or Emu says something to the sort, because I don't think he would have done anything for Dragon unless Sabo shows up and he's like, "Help me save Dragon." Although he's his dad, I don't think Emu or Luffy would do anything to help for Dragon unless Sabo asked him to. So I think Sabo being captured might be a good reason to follow. Because I wouldn't want it to be like, oh, Nami got taken away from Elbath, and we have to go and catch her and rescue her, right? I don't know why. I think the Straw Hats have been shown to be so strong now and such a big unit. I don't want to take one of them away. The only one I would find that acceptable would be Vivi because I've always been like, she's gonna be captured and they're gonna shoot through the ceiling of Mary Jo and be like, she's our crewmate, and Nami's gonna hold her hand out, Vivi's gonna grab on, and that sort of cringy shit. But I was like, I'm so down for that. You know what I mean? And now we're seeing the levels of which the Straw Hats are at, which I'm so excited for. But in this fight, we are gonna see so much of Emu, but I do think, just like Luffy, he's gonna have a time limit. But unlike Luffy, his time limit is caused by his sickness. So he's gonna have to return to the Holy Land. And maybe it could be a thing where the sickness gets worse when you're on the lower world, right? This is why they're up in the sky. If he's a Lunarian, it would make sense as his natural homeland, up in the Red Line. Maybe it just makes it easier for him, easier for him to exist up there. There's a lot of different things they could say. And you know what might be interesting as well? If he needs to get rid of the immortality powers in the final fight or in this fight, and in order for the other Holy Knights to keep his power to make sure he doesn't succumb to the sickness? What if that's why he has the limit on it? Because if he has more than 13 holy nights, his sickness will overcome him or something like that. You know, it's a fascinating idea. And the idea as well that he might need a new host, you know, that's entirely possible because maybe it's just bodies aren't meant to be around for 800 years and his body's kind of decaying and he needs a new host. That is also possible. And that's why we can see him probably testing out certain holy knights. Like, you know, we got Gunko, we got Shamrock, we got Garland. Hell, it could even be a thing where the elders are like the top 5 candidates for hosts. And in that case, I'd love to see him try to take over Garland. Um, I do think it's very interesting though that he just looks so badass. Oda does not do that for villains very often. You know what I mean? He usually likes to go for the gag, and I'm so happy he didn't with Emu because even if I believe Blackbeard's going to be the final villain, right? I still staunchly believe that Blackbeard is going to kill Emu, and the sickness just makes me think so more. I think the idea his body is special, all this, he's going to be able to withstand the power that even Emu couldn't withstand it for 800 years. Blackbeard's going to have that full power. Or even if he doesn't, temporarily he's going to have it and he's going to be able to withstand the sickness that maybe other mortals can't. You know, maybe it might even have been a thing where Roger tried to like restrain Emu's power at some stage and that caused the sickness. There could be a ton of different reasons. Do you know what I mean? It could have been related. It's not related to Elbath specifically because I'm pretty sure he was sick before they reached Elbath. He had a year left to live and all. So there could have been a fight with Emu at some stage or in contact with something that made Roger sick and it's related to Emu's powers and then Emu also can't handle his own powers. There's so many possibilities with this. I just think the parallel with Roger is fascinating because these two are the two pillars of each side of the story. Emu is the king of the world and Roger is the king of the pirates. Everyone now is going rocks, 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 but at the end of the day, the man who was king of the pirates is the top of the pirate world. So Roger having a dealing with Emu or having some sort of parallels with Emu would make perfect sense. And it is kind of cool, you know, he has the weapon similar to the strongest man in the world. He has the sickness like the king of the pirates. He has a devil fruit like Luffy. You know, he has the Lunarian skin of the Joy Boy worshippers, which is very interesting. Right? The idea that he looks like a Lunarian who are Joy Boy worshippers is fascinating. Could he have been an outcast of his clan? You know, he would have, because there's a lot of theories going out there that like Joy Boy was evil, you know, and Emu was just corrupted over time or something like that. And there's a lot of ideas. Like even Vegapunk goes through the concept of like, oh, you know, we don't actually know who was good and bad in this fight, so I'm not gonna, you know, speculate. But it is a great idea that maybe if Joy Boy or whoever the 20 Kingdoms were fighting against was initially corrupted by the same power, and then Emu and the 20 Kingdoms came together, he was like against it, but over time he was corrupted by the power. That's interesting. There's a lot of different angles it could take. I am so excited for it, man. So excited. Now, I will say, my thing about Shanks showing up this arc, if he shows up now, the glaze he is going to get is going to be unimaginable. Like, it's actually going to be too much. I don't know what they're going to do with that. The mechanic, actually, back to the Emu power thing, though. The mechanical heart stuff is interesting. Because if the immortality is somewhat science-based and has to do with, like, a mechanical heart, because we saw his reaction when they said, if we damage this, can you not regenerate? And he was like, right? So it's really interesting, really fascinating to see what they might do. You know, if there might be some sort of science-based thing instead. And then that would lead into a lot of people saying that the devil fruits are science-based in general. So yeah, there is so much. I do wonder though if those eyes that Emu has and Luffy has are the signs of the god fruits. Like obviously it wouldn't make sense with Mihawk, so the whole theory is kind of on shaky ground until we find out stuff about Mihawk. But I do think maybe that will be a link to like the god fruits, because the only people we know to have them are people with devil fruits that are considered god fruits. And we know Emu's going to have a god fruit or a devil fruit, like a devil fruit. That's the one line that I'm waiting for the official to actually talk about, which is like this one here, where it's like world government, uh, one of the first 20 ability, devil's fruit. So yeah, it's the devil fruit. It looks like, right? Or it's the devil fruit, which is how I initially read it, because we see he has the soul powers, and he also has this like truth-seeking orb eye stuff around him, and those horns, man, so cool. Imagine if he's just like the race of Kaido and King in one, and that would be an interesting way to like build up Emu in hindsight. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I don't know, man. This was one of the best chapters of all time. Like, genuinely, Oda has been in his bag. We got a fantastic live action. We get fantastic chapters back to back to back. And then the anime is coming back this week. Like, you cannot ask for a better time to be a One Piece fan. It is genuinely just pure gold right now. And does it scare me that the final villain was finally revealed? So now we know One Piece is coming to an end and I'm scared. Yes, I'm scared. I don't want it to end. But I am so happy about how it was done. He looks so cool. He caused so much damage just by showing up. Everyone is shitting themselves. And I cannot wait. I really can't. Now, one thing I will say, Luffy having his issue, will Luffy end up getting sick? And will Chopper's role, if he ends up having to find this cure for this sickness that Emu, Roger, and potentially Luffy will eventually have, man, Oda should have put more attention on Chopper, because I know he's doing it now with like the being able to undo dummy reversey, but like if he does, that slip up with the smile fruits is going to be major. Like, it's going to actually be so major if Chopper turns out to be this important. You know what I mean? But there's so much more. I really don't know where this is going to go. There's so many opportunities. This could continue on Elbath. We could have everyone converge on Elbath, or it could move to Mary Joa halfway through the arc. Like, I really don't know where we're going to go from here. Obviously, Emu's going to come in, wipe the floor with everybody, and then Luffy's going to hold him off a little bit. Luffy and Loki are going to hold him off a little bit, and then his sickness is going to overcome him, and he'll have to return. Or some Holy Knights are going to have to save him, whether it's Shamrock, Garling, or the Five Elders, right? That is a possibility as well, or some other force that we don't know about, which would be quite interesting. In fact, if Shamrock has to come and save him, it would be a good excuse for Shanks to show up. So there's a few different possibilities that could happen, right? Um, and one thing I was thinking as I was like just looking at him, what if he is like those Impel Down awakenings where like Emu was a good person, right? Was a worshiper of Joy Boy, was friends with Joy Boy, and the fruit, whoever's desire the fruit comes from, Joy or Emu somehow forced an awakening, and then because his beliefs didn't align with his fruit, he was overpowered by the will of the fruit, and that's what this is. And the sickness is like Emu's body and mind rejecting the fruit's will. That'd be an interesting idea, I think, because we know Luffy embodies the will of Nika, so when he awakened, it didn't really change him that much. And then we have, similar with like Katakuri and Doflamingo's awakenings and stuff. And obviously, Emu's will being strong enough, or the fruit's will being strong enough, that he didn't become completely mindless would also make sense. There's so many interesting options that come from this chapter, and I can't wait to talk about more of them. But yeah, it's just unbelievable, man. What a time to be a One Piece fan, genuinely.